He had tremendous power. In fact, while everyone applauds the central figure who accomplished many great feats, they are protected by the hero in the shadows. For the sake of his own self-satisfaction, he remains unnoticed by anyone, and all for the sake of the people. The gymnasium of the Third State University. His name is Sakuya. He is a freshman at the Third State University for Adventurers. The girl they were practicing with urged him to stand up. Fighting with him, she was giving her best, for otherwise she would not be able to become as strong as she wanted to be. This blonde girl is a third-year student, Fayuna-senpai. She possesses large breasts. Fayuna often seemed to focus his attention on her. She is also the strongest student in the academy. The girl offered to start over. It was initially clear that this was their special training. She allowed him to attack at any time. Fayuna, after analyzing his move, repelled the attack. But the guy also possessed a special cleverness that now played to his advantage. He was really hard to deceive. He doesn't have any particularly cool skills, so why is he here? It's because of his specialness. It's a long story. 5 months ago, a group of adventurers were on a mission to destroy a demon king. The king's body was protected by his 72nd servant, Astarte. He noted with a sneer that the warriors before them were bigger. But the victorious Sakuya, the saintly Melanie, and the hero Alavis believed in their strength. Sakuya reasoned that if the stone plate technique worked, they would succeed, so they should buy time. Melanie was trying her best, and Sakuya knew what that usually meant. Suddenly Alavis dropped his sword. He informed the Demon King of his decision to surrender. The hero was going to tell him things about humans that he did not know, and was willing to be his instrument to speak to the captives. And all in the name of preserving life. He begged for pity for him and Melanie. The Demon King performed a vile ritual, piercing Astarte's body with a huge sword. This is her special ability. It absorbs all the damage dealt to the Demon King. To defeat her, one would need to deal as much damage as would surpass the limit of her ability, but no group of warriors were capable of doing so. Even worse, she can spew out accumulated damage, converting it into attack power. This powerful attack could easily pierce through human armor. All the forces were directed against Alavis. The hero, portraying panic fear with his whole appearance, begged to stop. Sakuya admired his good play. He is not only a talented warrior, but also an excellent actor. The stacks show dulled the mind of the Demon King who had become infatuated with him. And he's still called a hero. He's pathetic and clumsy. He was going to make Alavis his puppet to practice his spells. But not everyone agreed. Sakuya's determination and his desire to kill the Demon King changed everything. Thus, several fatal swords were thrust into the body of the majestic opponent. Sakuya also got his cute little sister Astarte. But the Demon King found the last of his strength to prevent him from taking his servant. Melanie and Alavis teamed up for the decisive blow. It seems the hero's sword has finished off the Demon King. All thanks to Sakuya. The enemy suddenly realized what he had done it for. Sakuya had sealed his Astarte to destroy him. Pouring all his anger on him, the Demon King would henceforth never forget the name of this man that would rot in the corridor of death. Now who has lost? On that day, the boys defeated our most sinister foe at the cost of losing a comrade. Despite the fear the Demon King was trying to instill, the corridor of death was not so terrible. There were some excellent peaches that were hard to tear oneself away from. Still, while enjoying them, the guy wondered how to survive in such a place. After seeing the evil that inhabited it, Sakuya was convinced that there was life here. Not about to be discouraged, he suggested to Astarte that they take a walk through hell together. But such crowds irritated him immensely. He fixed on them a girl who could deal with each of them in cold blood. She was the Demon King's favorite. With her, Sakuya would be able to go anywhere. Standing in their way was the king of the 7 sins that he had recently read about. Astarte cast a spell that saved Sakuya. Since he has summoned Astarte, she blocks the damage dealt to him. He thanked the girl for another rescue. Suddenly a portal appeared and took them to the Demon King's bedroom. That means he's back. What a long hallway. Sakuya thought he would find Melanie and Alavis somewhere here. But he didn't even find their corpses. Perhaps they had both managed to survive. In that case, he must find them in the human world. But right now he needs to sleep while Astarte guards him. Upon waking up, Sakuya discovered that the girl had gotten taller. But he decided to ignore it, because the demon world is full of strange things. To begin, Sakuya summoned a horse. It had been a while since he had been to these parts, but it was about time he returned. He was on his way to the royal capital of Lindehof. As he approached the city, he noticed the unusual atmosphere there. Perhaps there's some kind of celebration going on there. Whatever it is, but peaceful festivals are good. Finding Alavis and Melanie was his first task. They both come from this country, so they must be nearby. Walking through the local market and smelling the tantalizing aroma of food, the boy couldn't resist. He ate to his heart's content, feeling completely satisfied. But still he wondered what the feast was in honor of. He approached a woman passing by with this question. She was surprised that he had come here without knowing. Sakaya was struck by the news of the wedding between the hero Alavis and the holy maiden Melanie. He was happy to learn that both his comrades were alive. Then following that, the lad asked if she knew how many days had passed since the victory over the Demon King. The local, after thinking about it, estimated that it was about 100 days. This was even before the talk of the ceremony. It was said that the holy maiden was unwell because she had lost her dear comrade. In that case, it would appear that no one had informed them of his return. The woman noticed that when the conversation turned to those two, there was great happiness written on his face, as if he was their close friend. Here she turned out to be right. Sakuya said goodbye to her, thanking her for her help. That he was once a member of the hero group is a secret. He is an unsung hero. Such is his way of life. At the moment of a great feat, people usually applaud the hero standing in the center, don't they? Sakuya, on the other hand, hides from the applause and in the shadows, performing his feats. And this is the kind of work he enjoys very much. Without harming anyone, he does this work so that people can live each day as they wish. That's right, he strives to work while remaining unnoticed. Besides, it's about time the comrades who assisted the hero and the holy maiden in destroying the Demon King showed up. It was unlikely that they would publicly claim that he was their comrade. Guy stopped next to the lovely flowers for sale. Like a true comrade, he wants to at least let them know that he is back. And also, of course, to congratulate them on their wedding. It's probably time to go now. The line to the castle was incredibly huge. Apparently, the wait would be long. It was obvious that they would stare at him like that. He wasn't wearing any parade at all. What could be done? All the shops with things are closed. But even so, what beautiful weather it is today. The clatter of approaching heels was heard in the distance. The charming girl noticed that Sakuya looked very happy. The boy was trying to be reserved, remaining loyal only to a start. The girl thought he looked so content that she accidentally became envious. Sakuya assumed that she had come to meet him. Even though it was their first meeting, the girl decided that she had behaved so inappropriately with him. She was about to give her name when suddenly he stopped her. Sakuya asked her not to worry, but why did she suddenly feel so jealous? It turned out that it was because of the various troubles happening to her constantly lately. She had even stopped laughing. The girl turned to him seriously. If he had time, she asked him to explain how he managed to smile so happily. Pensive, Sakuya cited the sun as an example. It shines so pleasantly and warmly that it makes one feel at ease. The girl was very surprised. She saw him smiling so well that she thought he had something special. Sakuya called himself the most ordinary person, so nothing more. The girl confessed that she is constantly surrounded by people who can't relax in any way. Therefore, there is no time for laughter at all. The guy remarked that if she is always so busy, she wouldn't be in his situation in those rags. The girl felt awkward laughing, but couldn't deny it. From her story, Sakuya realized that they were so exhausted because of their disgusting viewing. However, he was right to come here today. He was glad that he could already be of some use. The girl wondered if he had come here just to congratulate them. The guy did not hide the fact that there was a connection between them. He wants to tell them that, even divided, this bond will not be lost. The girl was horrified to suggest that it might have something to do with the triangle. Finally, the turn came to the boys. Unfortunately, Sakaya could not be missed in such a way. The guy asked to be allowed to at least look at their faces, but even here he was refused. He was going to visit the clothing stores tomorrow. He was too careless. First, he should tidy himself up. His new acquaintance decisively grabbed him under the arm and led him along. She was going to thank him. Sakaya was surprised that this store was not resting today. And the reason was because this store is run by her relatives. So, she just helped him out in a big way. They cleaned him up, cut his hair, and picked out a suit, which of course he bought rather than rented. He gave too much more than he needed and asked the girl to keep the money. She had saved him with that. He squeezed the coins in her palm. The way he behaved made a great impression on her. Fortunately, everything went well. He thanked the girl for helping with the check and for everything else. She considered it her duty for making him laugh so much. Still, Sakuya couldn't keep silent about her outfit. It suits her just perfectly. It fits her perfectly. Hearing him praise her makes her a little happy. The girl pulled him with her into the castle. The newlyweds continued to receive their guests with a big effort-stretched smile. Melanie was still wistfully remembering Sakaya. The guard was about to introduce the next guest who wished to meet them. Melanie realized that she was doing the wrong thing. She should be thinking of something else. It would be disrespectful to the people who had come to congratulate them on their wedding. The girl jumped up from her throne when she saw the one who occupied all her thoughts. She was immensely happy to realize that Sakuya had survived. Alavis broke into a sweat upon hearing the familiar name. Guy was glad to see that they were in good health. Alavis had thought he was dead all this time, but he was fine and had returned. When Sakuya heard that they had decided to get married, he thought it would be a good idea to tell them that he was fine and congratulate them at the same time. Melanie had a hard time believing that it was really Sakuya. She felt as if he had somehow gotten younger. He didn't think so himself. It's just that a lot of things happened after that time, and since time was short, he decided to start congratulating them. Alavis noticed the softened expression on his wife's face. After finishing his congratulatory speech, Sakuya handed Melanie a bouquet. He wished them happiness. Here an ill-wisher declared that Sakuya was still as sarcastic. Alavis decided that he actually showed up here to take his Melanie away from him. The girl tried to placate her husband, but he was furious to the extreme. The ex-boyfriend declared that he was already too late. After all, she had chosen him over Sakuya. Alavis was not going to listen to him. He called himself the victor of the Demon King, and the proof is that he got as much as 10 ability points. And with everything else, that means he's much higher than Sakuya. Sakuya was originally going to say that he was their friend. Then Alavis decided to say it again. Melanie chose him and he has to accept that fact. No matter how good a man he makes of himself, it will not shake her feelings toward him. The only beautiful woman in the world is now his wife. Sakuya's acquaintance took him under her arm and showed with all her appearance the joy of knowing the hero and the holy maiden. She heartily congratulated them on their wedding. It seems that they have been misled. But this man did not come here to take the bride from Alavis, because he is dating her. The unexpected announcement came as a blow to everyone. She is heartily grateful to Alavis, for he married someone who could definitely have been her rival. Melanie demanded an explanation, but Sakuya himself didn't really understand what was going on. With that, the girl decided to deflect. She once again congratulated them on their wedding. Meeting the saint's gaze, she saw hatred and great jealousy in it. Sakuya's acquaintance was proud of her act, but still he didn't understand why she did it. The girl explained that the reason was because of Master Alavis' behavior, which made her very angry. But she admitted that she had gone too far, and she regretted it. The guy awkwardly remarked that he was even happy. They were a couple, even if only for a moment. But the girl regretted saying it publicly. About them being a couple, Sakuya decided that if anyone asked about their relationship, he would just say that they had broken up. A carriage pulled up in front of them, from which jumped out an anxious butler who had been looking for the princess for some time. He scolded her for spending time with a stranger. It became clear that she was from the royal family, but unfortunately she was caught. In parting, she thanked him for a great walk. But then the princess remembered something. She whispered in his ear not to cheat on her. With that, climbing into the carriage and looking out the window contentedly, she bid him farewell. Sakuya was still standing still, trying to make sense of what had just happened. He was trying to push away the thoughts of what she had said last. But would they meet? The right thing to do would be to just forget, but he doesn't want to leave it like that. Be that as it may. On the way to the castle, the princess had a strange feeling. She can't get this guy's smile out of her mind. He is different from the people she usually meets on blind dates. She can't believe she's so attracted to him. The girl decides to order the carriage to stop, with the intention that they return to the man they just left. And soon, the butler thought she had lost her mind. After all, she doesn't even know him, and the princess didn't deny it. But perhaps he is the one. The old man asked her to think again. From this the princess ventured to suppose that he had forgotten the words of her father, the king. The butler convulsively swallowed his saliva and replied that that was not what he meant. And that man is gone too, isn't he? The girl wished with all her heart to find him. She had never felt like this before. Seeing no other way out, the crew turned around. Sakuya had managed to leave the place where they had last met, and even after searching for him, he had not been found. The princess thanked the servants for putting up with her selfishness. They are too kind. Now she longed to see him again. Melanie couldn't believe that Sakuya was alive. Left to herself, she let her true feelings come out. She decided that there would be no wedding ceremony. Turning to Lars, the god of light, the girl told of her happiness to see him again, for which she thanked him from the bottom of her heart. When Melanie met Sakuya, it was the first time she saw kindness in a person. In Alavis, on the other hand, there was not an ounce of kindness. That is why it is only natural that her heart longs for him. Alavis guessed that Melanie was lurking in her room and asked her to open the door. He has business to attend to, and she knows it. She thought he was an idiot. All her thoughts were occupied with Sakuya, on whose meeting she had pinned all her hopes. Melanie could not help but share her little joy with Shizu. The girl could see how happy she had become. Melanie had a request for her. She asked her to help her escape from this country. Shizu didn't have to think much. She guessed at once that it had to do with Mr. Olavis. Melanie decided to end it. He had already shown his true nature more than once. She no longer felt comfortable here, so she made the decision to leave him and go to Sakuya. But does Shizu know what the lily of the valley signifies? The return of happiness. With a place to go, Melanie, having no definite preference, relied entirely on Shizu. If she wanted to hide, the servant felt their village was the best choice. Melanie remembered something else. She ordered to find out who the dark-haired woman next to Sakuya was. Swinging open the doors leading to the balcony, Shizu was about to take Lady Melanie to the temple. Sakuya stayed at an inn on the outskirts, contemplating his next course of action. If Olavis hated him so much, there was no place for him in Lindenhof. He's a brave man who defeated the demon lord, will become king in the near future, and will undoubtedly play a role in ruling the country. So Sakuya should go elsewhere. But if so, it would be difficult to return to the Church of the Black Heresy to which he belongs. But in Lindenhof, by the way, all the other churches of all the gods are located. The churches of Lars, god of light, Elil, goddess of the earth, and Uxu, god of war, are the main ones. He is also from a distant place where heretical gods are worshipped. Guy knows he is welcome there, but he is sure there are other options. He has apparently strayed from the topic. Now he should have decided which country he would go to. The choice fell on the Kingdom of the Sword. It is rich and the largest of the 7 kingdoms, and has a warm climate. It is near Lindenhof. It also has the most adventurers, the National Defense Academy and the Adventurer Training School. He had heard that they were larger than in other countries. In Lyrases, he would join a pack of adventurers and make a living. Sakuya couldn't wait for that. The boy felt like he'd had enough peaches. He had taken too many, there were plenty of them in the demon world. But there was still room in the vault. Vaulting is a useful skill that allows you to store items in another space. It is used universally. The number of items stored and the length of time it lasts varies from person to person. Feeling tired, he collapsed on the bed. During sleep his limbs had shrunk considerably. Sakuya thanked the landlady for the night's lodging, leaving a fee. But the woman was struck by how grown-up this boy was behaving, climbing on such a large horse. The Wall of Mason, the capital of the Lyrases Lilac Sword Kingdom. Sakuya got here rather quickly considering it's a neighboring country. At the entrance, he was greeted by a friendly girl who couldn't help but be captivated by this adorable boy. She asked if he had a kingdom permit. Sakuya was surprised at this judgment, for he is 25. He handed her a card with his information, but now he didn't look like the lieutenant whose picture was attached. The girl decided that he had found this pass. She warned that crossing the border was not a game. It seems his father is somewhere at the crossing, so she will forgive him this time. But the girl confiscated his permit. She was also willing to wait for him to grow up to be a handsome man. Sakuya couldn't understand her again. After all, he is 25 and a grown man. He doesn't think it's a good joke. They weren't going to mess with him anymore. The warrior from the post shooed him away with the message to come back in 10 years. Sakuya was still at peace. He still made it to the country. The guy didn't think that he was really getting younger, but he seemed to guess what was the matter. Namely the peaches from the demon world he was so fond of. But will he be able to fight with such a body? His strength and swordsmanship fortunately haven't changed. There was nothing he could do about what he had become. Even so, he still had skills left. Speaking of which, they said at the border that in order to get a permit in the new kingdom, you have to go to the National Defense Academy. The National Defense Academy is where the Adventurer Guild and the Adventurer Academy are combined. It is also responsible for issuing life permits in the kingdom. If Sakuya enters the academy, she will listen to lectures and get practical skills, and also do assignments with the teacher to increase her rank. Rank is one of the standards of strength. The academy produces captains, and they get benefits from the government every year. By the way, his previous rank was lieutenant, and Brave Alavis was a lieutenant colonel. Once on the academy grounds, Sakuya's first order of business is to find the secretary. He informed the girl that his goal was to obtain a permit. Of the ones offered for regular troops and for adventurers, he chose for adventurers. The lad also reported that he had come from Lindenhof and was first in their country. He was embarrassed by the question of his age. The secretary suggested that he was about 12, maybe 13 years old. He would have to enter the National Defense Academy first. But that was not what Sakuya had counted on. There is a rule that aspiring adventurers less than 15 years old must enter the academy. The secretary wished him good luck for the next 4 years. There would be an entrance exam in 5 days. Sakuya felt the discomfort of being a child. Would he be able to live a normal life now? The boy had completely forgotten about the skill points. He had hoped they were increased by at least 3 points, but what he saw next did not fit his mind at all. Their number totaled 323. Then he thought that Astarte's kills counted as his. Alavis said that Sakuya got 10 points for destroying a demon king, so that's like 32 demon kings. And to get 1 point, you have to defeat 1,000 demons of the same level. But right now, he didn't care that he had become a child. There are more than 300 of them, and he is full of strength. He received a notice that his skill tree had expired. It is possible to change his profession from warrior monk to abyss destroyer monk. This was the first time Sakuya had heard of this profession. He already has an excellent demon, so it's the perfect choice for him. Following his agreement, a new skill tree was sent to him. The guy hoped he could do well with this one. He decided that maybe he should try his new job before he went to the third academy. This forest is no place for a child. A girl who had dismounted from her horse found a boy who had decided to test his fate. She could not let the child go into a forest teeming with vicious monsters. But Sakuya, completely ignoring her concern, moved with determination and soon disappeared deep into the dark forests. After making sure that the girl was no longer following him, he set about his business. He has 3 great demons at his command. Besides Astarte, there are 2 others who were defeated by him in the demon world and who agreed to go with him. The shadow of huge monsters loomed over him. They are trolls with the rank of sergeant, being opponents fought by 6 adventurers each. So this was what that girl had warned him about. Their enemy attitude became a bit tense. Something huge collapsed to the ground, nearly hitting Sakuya. The creature, endowed with a large beak, was much stronger than the troll. The king of the forest, a giant bird, and its rank is 3 above the trolls. When it found the child, it rushed toward him. This signaled the beginning of the battle. Sakuya possessed a lot of skills that made him incredibly strong. In any case, it should be checked. But facing death, the guy began to doubt that he would survive such an attack. Miraculously, he escaped from the enemy's beak. Sakuya became convinced that level 323 wasn't so bad. He simultaneously summoned 3 great demons without cast and initiated a counterattack. Thus, the demon dragon with Armageddon Eternal Fire, the priestess of Purgatory with the branding of a fallen angel, and the Lord of Flies with Devouring were used against the enemy. Sakuya had gone quite far. The high-level alert notifications were unexpected. They were followed by a trigger failure, the enemy already dead. The enemy's death was confirmed. Sakuya concluded that if the enemy survived, it would attack again. The guy was surprised by the presence of an activated automatic absorption of the corpse's physical strength. After the battle, not a scratch was left on him. Sakuya couldn't figure out if it was because of the power of the great demons he had gained by changing his specialty. It would be good to keep them with him at all times, but carrying them in the academy is too dangerous. Just tapping them wouldn't activate them, but just in case, he thought he would just wear the medallions as a talisman. So this is the 3rd National Defense Academy. Sakuya had heard that the 1st and 2nd academies were known for being noble, so he thought the 3rd one would be a bit poorer. But it's very beautiful here. First, you have to go to the entrance exam venue. He didn't think there was something in the basement of the academy. He was greeted by the hand-to-hand combat instructor Gokido and the herbology teacher Machiko. This is where they will practice their practical skills against demons. They've already enrolled the guys so they can take it easy. It's just for class assignment. These items are made specifically for practicing, so the students can attack with any strength they want. They won't fight back. Sakuya was chosen first. The boy didn't forget the need to not stand out. He shouldn't get into an advanced class. Now he was going to show his freshman swagger and immaturity. Sakuya decided he was great at it. Following the indiscriminate attacks, he finally fell to the ground, dropping his sword. The guy was proud of his perfect move. However, he managed to destroy his target. The instructor couldn't imagine how he was able to realize that the demon's body was a shadow. The new students were congratulated on their entry. Today is the entrance ceremony. It is a very important day. Sakuya couldn't believe that he had gotten into the platinum class. This is going to be a problem. Gokido saw potential in the boy. Machiko couldn't help but agree that it was definitely cool. The blow went straight to the demon's heart. Such a thing was hard for even them to understand. The instructor was confident that he would be this year's true gem. The crowd was filled with excitement at the sight of the strongest swordsman in the school, the hope of their 3rd academy, and the very embodiment of talent and beauty. Sakuya saw that she looked promising, but he had a feeling that they had met somewhere before. The girl greeted the students. Her name is Fiona and she is a 3rd-year student. It is not uncommon for them to do lab work together despite the class. It's definitely fun together. And about this year's Unified School Festival. She swore she would win it, so she's looking for students to partner with her. If they have what it takes, she would love to hear from them. With that, she ended. Finishing her speech, she cast a glance at Sakuya. He used to study a little in church before, so school life is new to him. He's in the platinum class, it's already off the beaten path, but he believed he could handle it. Fayuna fought the opponents one after another. Apparently, she had no equal here. She's really strong. He feels she will easily get through to the second round, but her movements are too stiff. Sakuya thinks she's not half as good as she thinks she is. The girl suggests he give it a try. The boy finds himself in a desperate situation. Goku's teacher had told her about him. She heard that he did well in the entrance exam, and the other day, he was the one who went into the troll forest alone, and came back alone. Sakuya realized that she was the girl who had warned him then. Fayuna offered to find out now. Of course, it was not in his best interest to answer her, but he could no longer lie. So he was fine with this development. It was clear from his stance that he really knew how to do something. Looking at her, he could say the same thing. The girl confessed that she hasn't been in such anticipation for a long time, but still wants to know what he can do. Sakuya thought about the fact that supporting the best in the academy from behind the scenes is not a bad idea. But would he be able to keep his secret without revealing his full power? Fayuna announced the start of the fight. She couldn't let him teach her. The first attack that followed was sudden, and Sakuya barely had time to set up his sword. With his attack, they crossed swords again, the girl acting confidently and coolly. Fayuna dodged his sword, striking back. She realized what he was really made of. The boy declared his confidence in his ability to withstand a beating. He had a really strong spirit. But the battle was not yet over. It had been a long time since Fayuna had seen a freshman fight a senior for longer than a minute. The girl decided to end the training session when Sakuya asked for a continuation. That was quite enough. She recognized that he was pretty good with a sword. The trajectories are perfect. The force of the blow is also impressive. However, there is one fatal flaw. That's why she has to say that he's not right for her. Sakuya didn't understand what the problem was. The fact that his sword is too thin. Therefore, it doesn't inspire fear in the opponent. She had never seen a sword with such a blade. She seems to have recognized the essence of his sword. On the other hand, the guy deserves praise because it's difficult to use. But that doesn't change her response. It became the best compliment he could receive. Her goal is to win the Unified School Festival. When Goku told her about it, she had high hopes for him. But that sword won't be enough to make him her partner. He won't reach it. Sakuya decided that the senpai was the best role model. Fayuna thanked him for his time, but she would have to find another partner. However, she is always up for a challenge. Sakuya called out to her. He asked to fight one last time. Now he must show her all he can. He's not very good in general, and he can't parry blows well. However, he has the strength and will to win. The guy shocked her with his professional attack. Goku's instructor became aware of their sparring. Fayuna declared her confidence that Sakuya could be a damn good fighter. She has seen his skill, although he is still in the process of training. It seemed to the instructor that the girl had managed to fall in love with him. However, she said it was silly. He apologized for his joke. It became clear to him what she had come here for. The girl would like to choose Sakaya as her partner. Sakui's room on the first floor of the student dormitory is a great place to relax. Today's lesson is about fighting against this doll. Each of them will fight in turn. It doesn't move, so they can attack it without hesitation. Sakuya is now officially Fayuna's partner. The students became aware of the fact that Fayuna had chosen him as her partner. Moreover, she recommended him. She recommended him to the teachers as well. It turns out that he is the representative of this year's Unified School Festival. Everyone was anticipating how interesting today's class would be. Sakuya knew that sparring would attract too much attention. The Earth Summoner, Polo, couldn't understand why Fayuna had chosen this guy over him. The ancient rune mage, Sashana, mockingly remarked that although he was the head of the family, male jealousy was so ugly. In an outburst, the guy declared that she was even the second lowest ranked sorceress while he was the lowest Earth Summoner. The guys had to be separated since class had already started. The twins Thelma and Louise, who possessed Gandharva-style shield swordsmanship, were chosen first. Sashana, observing the twins' crisp actions, set a goal of not losing to either of them. She declared that she would defeat the two, and Goku liked this attitude. The girl slew them with flaming arrows. All this bored Polo. His golem would withstand even 3. He would prove a suitable partner for Fayuna. And he won a dazzling victory. Sakuya rejoiced for each of them. Finally, Goku decided to test his strength as well. Now the boy can stop pretending. Especially for him, they will put up 5 enemies, so he should try to be an example for the others. Since they're looking at him, the guy thought of a strategy to perfectly hide the abilities. He plopped down right in front of the target, figuring that would work. But then his skills activated and things didn't go as planned. Several automatically summoned swords fell from the sky to the ground at once. The counterattack was crushing and distinguished by its incredible power. It was something amazing. Everyone understood why it had been chosen by Fiuna. It seemed to be a summoning magic that was much better than a magnificent golem. Polo wasn't happy with this arrangement. It was up to him to stand out. Therefore, he would never forgive Sakuya. All they knew was that he was from a special group. They don't even have a dorm room. Polo considered it an occasion for ridicule. Are they so bad that they don't get a room in this shabby dormitory? But still, the boys realized that he was strong. Polo also refused to believe that Sakuya had summoned the sword from the sky. Sakuya racked his brain, not knowing what to do after showing everyone his swords. He thinks the best solution would be to play dumb. They say it takes 75 days for a rumor to go away. When the boy is called out, he is startled. Sushana had not heard before what he was speculating about and was about to confess regarding the previous lesson. The girl thanked him for all the applause that made her feel so happy. That was what she wanted to say. Without hesitating, the girl quickly disappeared. Afterward, Sakuya asked the others, but they had already forgotten about it for some unknown reason. The only spell activated at that moment was the Devil Formula. If a start skill was Devil Formula, the effect of which was unknown, memory correction. Then in that case, this skill is just right for his path. No matter what he did, everyone would forget about it, and he could always fade into the shadows. He admired a start. A couple days later, today he received a request from the city. There is a quest to fulfill. Quests are mostly tasks that adventurers take on. The less difficult and safer ones are often used to train apprentices. In this case, you need to deliver fresh produce to the farmer in the mill. So far he has seen nothing difficult about it. He wasn't the only one assigned this quest. Sushana and Pico will be traveling with him. Her profession is a traveling merchant. They will be accompanied by a 4th-year student on the quest, Jeriga. He is their muscle. He will protect them, even if it means his end. They are well protected, so they can rest assured. Sakuya thought it was strange that despite being busy, they were traveling by carriage. As it turned out, there was no rule forbidding it. Besides, scientists are busy with their dissertations at this time of year, so a 4th-year student doesn't have much time to waste frivolously. If they are attacked by brigands, they will be safe in the carriage. If it came to that, Sakuya remembered that he had a start. Oh, and even if they were attacked by a dragon, he could always entrust his life to the seniors. Now that they had eaten, they could sleep. The girls fell asleep right on top of Sakuya. Suddenly, the boy sensed danger. The bandits had caught up with them. He immediately woke the boys up. The news made the chaperone panic. He decided that he and Sakuya would stay here and the girls should run away with this crystal to the academy to call for help. Sakuya saw this as a great chance to prove himself. The girls went for help now, hoping that they would last here. Very quickly, Jeriga was placed on the ground, which looked strange. The robbers knew that this young man with glasses was the son of the very big official, so they could just kidnap him and get a good ransom. Sakuya realized that they had come for the senpai, which is obvious since he is a rich aristocrat. They're not dragons, of course, but there are some strong guys among them. After saying that, the guy disappeared. He caught up with the enemy from behind in a flash, causing a lot of questions. The bandits pounced on him at once. Against them, he used holy magic, sending a shockwave into the enemy. The advantage is that the cast is short and the spell is easy to use. The gang leader appreciated the boy's abilities, but he was not going to give up so easily, and prepared new forces against him. Sakuya was going to counter his axe attack with an ordinary sword, which was hard to believe. But even here, the boy was smarter. Crushing is a new skill Sakuya acquired after he changed professions. As the name implies, he adds a crushing effect to his attacks, destroying everything he touches. Generation of the effect is at the user's discretion. His mysterious power instilled more and more fear. The guy reminded them of the imminent arrival of backup, so the opponents wasted no time and fled. Gokudu rushed to the rescue along with the warriors. Everyone was very worried about the guys. As they can see, Sakuya is perfectly fine. Gokudu knew that there was no way Jeriga could stand up to the bandits. Always when it came to combat, he was the first to pass out. It seemed to Sakuya that he was the best in the class, but it was foolish to think so. He was always in the very last places. In this school, you can really prove yourself. Among the help arrived was Fiuna, who saw no reason to worry since Sakuya was here. Sakuya tried to prove that the success was due to the senpai's strength. Still, however, Fiuna felt that he should be proud of his accomplishments. But to single-handedly fight off nearly 10 strong bandits, he really is the kind of partner she needs. She thought that it was too early for him to have a real fight, but now, she wants to go to the dungeon with him. Dining hall of the 3rd Academy. Today, Sakuya needs to be as inconspicuous as possible. But as he tried to get past the crowd, he was blocked. Polo demanded an explanation as to why he was seeing Fiuna every day. She doesn't even look at him. Why isn't she paying attention to him? Sakuya clearly didn't like listening to vain whining. Sakuya was stood up for by Sushana, who thought he was clearly kinder than Polo. Such a thing sounded suspicious from her lips, so Polo assumed that she had fallen in love with him. Sakaya was looking for. Fiuna eagerly informed the guy about the permission she had received from the academy to declare him a partner. Sushana saw fit to intervene. There's a rule that you can't declare new students as partner. It turned out that Fiuna had spent a month convincing the academy for this. After many reports and presentations, they finally agreed. She will definitely win the Unified School Festival this year. Everyone should look forward to it. Now Fiuna was going to teach him everything she knew. Only now did he find out that partners were allowed to practice 24/7. That means they are together from morning to night, every hour of the day. The girl immediately guessed what he was thinking. Tomorrow they will go to the dungeon. She will go in for him early in the morning so he can rest. And then Sakuya wondered, why is Fiuna so obsessed with winning the festival? There must be something behind that passion. I'll have to ask her about it. The girl woke him up at 5 in the morning. The only thing he was thinking about in his sleep was peaches, so when he imagined them, he grabbed her breasts. Now Sakuya would improve her stretching. She said it would be a daily routine. Fiuna didn't even realize he had such a body. Flexibility is the only thing he has, so he asked to increase the load. But suddenly the girl realized that she should change her clothes. Just the kind of senpai he needs. Fiuna will accompany the sophomores during the foray towards the dungeon on campus. Sakuya was surprised. After all, isn't that what teachers usually do? It was about Gokido-san's absence, so she was given that role temporarily. The boy objected that he was a first-year student. The girl tried to calm him down. For the sake of winning the school festival, she wants him to experience the rigors of real combat. It seemed like a great opportunity for him to test his skills. Campus dungeon, 2nd floor. Fiuna supported the sophomores, instructing them to be vigilant. Sakuya had a premonition of how interesting it would be now. The students were attacked by a group of mid-level skeletons. Despite Fiuna's cold-bloodedness, the students simultaneously thought she was very cute. The attention was also drawn to the freshmen who only seemed to be stirring underfoot. Sakuya himself thought that the operation of the unassuming was going well. Using a secret stealth technique, he was delivering an ultra-fast lumbar strike. And thanks to that, the skeletons were now stealthily lose their balance. This is exactly the backstage action he wanted to do. But something was going wrong. Today, the senpai is moving a bit strangely. If Fiuna continues like this, something might happen, so he needs to hurry. The result of all this commotion was that the girl hovered over Sakuya, who had fallen to the ground with her palms pressed against her chest. The guy had expected this from her. It felt like she wasn't even wearing any clothes. She squealed like a little girl and punched him, believing that what happened in the morning was his fault. It became clear what was the cause of all the weirdness. But Fiuna is glad she brought him along this time. It will make for a good base. She can finally teach him how to use a real sword. A couple days later, after school, the sword in a light grip, a soft touch, dancing like a stream. And the strike. This movement, if he is not mistaken, is her own style. He guesses why she is so obsessed with winning the festival. Fiuna stated that this was his goal from now on. She was about to voice the essence of today's training, but her partner interrupted her. He wanted to ask her about something he had noticed from the first few days. Why does she want this festival? As the girl had said, it was for the school's victory, but Sakuya doubted that. It seems to him that it is not. Last year, she came in 2nd place. He heard that she did great, and yet, she is the only one who is so depressed about it. The guy asked me to tell him as a partner. He wants to know the truth about Jural fencing. Fiuna tensed when she realized that he knew about it. It turned out that he didn't, but thanks to his constant training with her, he began to guess, and today's training had allowed him to make sure of it. It was that infinity sword. The girl recognized that he was really smart. That's right, this is her style of swordsmanship. There are many sword schools in this world. One of them, considered the foundation of the others, is the school of Jirel Genryu. More than 300 years ago, the swordsmanship of the hero Jirel, who defeated the first demon king, was passed down from generation to generation. And for a long time, this school was the most powerful. However, in the land of swords, Lyrases, a new, even more powerful school of swordsmanship was born. A sub-style of swordsmanship called Jirala. It is based on the Jiralu style, but is dominated by a series of attacks that emphasize speed. Sakuya knew that Jirel schools train many students, but not all of them follow through with this training. Fayuna stated that there are 3 of them, and only women are the heiresses who pass the essence from generation to generation. Speed is the foundation and secret of this school. That is why for half a century the strongest swordsmen have been women. The guy asked bluntly if she was an heiress. Fayuna decided to tell him that when she was 11, she vowed never to cry again. She took up the sword because her parents told her to, that she was the best, and Sakuya believed it to be true. It happened when she was 8. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't beat her. This is the country's second princess, Finesse, the princess of the sword. She is the greatest master of the Jirel school of swordsmanship. Finesse is not only great with her sword, but also with her emotions. When Fayuna cried in frustration after her defeat, she would explain to her in detail what she had done wrong, giving her advice. And at the end she always said that Fayuna is strong. After all, she was her rival. She was pleased to hear this, and she continued practicing every day. But when a girl named Cartier, a year younger than her, came into her life, she started losing more and more. It's a tough world. As a result, she was no longer Finnes's partner. It was painful to watch her fights with Cartier, but Finnes said she was waiting for her, so Fayuna worked harder than ever. But when she was 10, she was overpowered by a girl 2 years younger than her who had just recently come. The daughter of the headmaster of the first academy, Venet. No matter how much Fayuna tried, she could not win. Every night, she saw an expression of joy on her face. She couldn't stop crying. Venet was a person who never made any effort. She preferred real battles and demon hunting and never saw any interest in training. Fayuna still kept trying, but she couldn't win. She saw a genius, and in finishing, Veneth gave her a nickname, Crybaby Underachiever. Fayuna allowed a laugh at that cruel nickname, but Sakuya wasn't going to. He'd had that happen to him too. Outsider, that's the name given to those who weren't chosen as the school's heir. Although she was afraid that she would be considered inferior or weak, she was much more afraid that Finesse would change her mind. Maybe that was why she couldn't even talk to Finesse when they happened to see each other. She was not her level, but she kept practicing and asked her parents to give up cooking, manners, and other activities so she could devote all her time to the sword. In the summer of that year, Finesse was proclaimed the first heir. Cartier became second in line. Venet and her competed for the remaining seat. As a result, Genius Sword, Veneta, became the third heir. Fayuna cried for 3 days and 3 nights. She left the dojo without even saying goodbye to her master. She chose the third academy instead of the first academy she had already been accepted to. She and Finesse never saw each other again. However, since then, she had become strong enough to defeat Finesse. That was her goal. She promised herself that she would never cry again to say goodbye to her past. It became clear to him where this zeal for the festival came from. That year, Cartier hit her from behind before she could sword fight with Finesse. But this year is different. She decided to finish the story another time. The entrance to the house was closed due to waxing. And after all, Sakuya always sleeps here. Looks like we'll have to settle for the shoe rack today. But Fayuna offered to come to her room. Sakuya felt uncomfortable. Not only did she let him use the shower, but she also gave him a seat. The girl could see that he was enthusiastic about reading Jirel books. He is always enthusiastic. She noticed that there was still water dripping from his hair. So, she crouched down to him, wiping them with a towel. Fayuna thought he was reading a textbook. He always does that. Not focused enough. Sakuya stated another source of concentration failure. The girl decided to place it on the floor. The boy was also content that she even gave him a mattress. After learning that he usually wrapped himself in blankets, she declared that this mattress was henceforth his. In the middle of the night, she declared her certainty that Venetus would be present at this year's festival, which meant that the first academy would have all 3 heirs. She will show them her art that she has honed for so long. Sakuya decided that if that was the senpai's sword's purpose, he could handle it too. That sounded pretty good. The guy is confident in his ability to come up with names. Fayuna decided to leave childishness behind. He's disappointed, isn't he? It's not like she never gave up her desire to live up to Finesse's expectations. Sakuya didn't think so. That would eventually make her the greatest swordsman of all time. In fact, she should apologize to him. for getting in the way of his personal feelings. Sakuya wants to be strong too, so he is grateful to her, no need to apologize. The guys looked at each other without further ado. That is the essence of the unassuming hero. A couple days later, after school, Fiona praised him, saying that with his current abilities, he could train with the seniors already. That was the end of today's training. He was free. Today, they couldn't use their usual place, so they practiced in the back of the gym. It's pretty convenient to be away from prying eyes. However, he thinks there are downsides to it. The festival is 3 months away. Fiona is confident that Sakuya will reach a level where he can fight Cartier. If he keeps training like this, even without that hidden power of Sakuya. A familiar voice was heard, greeting the crybaby underdog and causing the girl to turn around in horror. A smug Venet stood before her in the presence of the guards. She had heard that her old friend was studying at the Commoner's Third Academy, and had come all this way to say hello. But it wasn't very much like her. Her opponent noticed that she was still playing with the wooden sword. But is she really starting to prepare for the festival so early? She hopes Fiona won't cry again. After all, she has already defeated her more than once, even though she is younger than her. Fiona declared that she is not the same as before. The serious attitude only made the smug Veneth laugh. She couldn't even show her Jiral style. A wimp who doesn't know her place looks hilarious. Fiona explained that it's not about style. It's about constant daily discipline. It's the only way to improve oneself. Venet decided to tell her something. This year, she will fight Finesse again. It became clear to Fiona that she came with the purpose of fighting her. She is not going to wait until the school festival to prove Fiona's weakness. She will do it here and now. And by the way, her father, the first principal, is with them today. He wants her to teach a lesson to some student. Fiona saw that she was lying. Her father is a decent man, unlike her. Hearing such a statement, she spat out her strength on her. Veneth continued to be bored. The crybaby underachiever hasn't learned anything at all in all this time. Thinking back to Finesse, Fiona decided that now was the time to outdo herself. She showed her the Jiral school of fencing. Then, unwilling to surrender to a serious opponent, Venet applied the butterfly dance, showing her very essence. The butterfly wings knocked Fiona off his feet, leaving no chance of victory. She remained silent, not letting go of her sword. Veneth told her that Finesse seemed to be waiting for her already. Finesse is her rival. Fiona's tears only caused her pleasure, so she continued to press her until she was stopped. Sakuya, hiding his face under his hood, declared that he would deal with her. Does he really have a plan? Sakuya couldn't let her get away with it. He doesn't like what she's doing. Veneth saw him as a threat. She was about to leave and he decided to die. Veneth made her cry, and he will make her regret it. The girl, sensing a serious opponent, regretted that she didn't have time to play with him. The guards, standing up for her, said that she was the daughter of the principal and this was unacceptable, so the guy should get out. Instead, Sakuya threw the man in the tuxedo, not feeling the least bit afraid of them. The stranger in the robe interested Venet, ready to fight. She pointed her sword at him, grinning a snow-white smile. Licking her prey, she inquired to which school of swordsmanship this prince on a white horse belonged. Sakuya did not classify himself as belonging to any. He had his own style. Then the girl didn't understand how an idiot like him dared to challenge her. The guy was going to find out who the idiot was. She really disliked his style of speech. Fiona didn't want the intercessor to try his hand with the heiress of the Jiral school of swordsmanship. But Sakuya asked her not to worry. He would make her feel sorry. Veneth was no longer going to listen to their flirting. Her attack aimed straight at her forehead. The guy disappeared, catching up with her from above. He pushed back, smashing his shoe into her head. This mysterious man increasingly surprised Fiona. Sakuya had little appreciation for his rival's abilities. The girl became increasingly annoyed by his tricks. Gradually, she began to lose all her arrogance. Then it couldn't let him look down on her and attacked with furious force. And this time, in a sword fight, he gained the upper hand. Fiona couldn't believe that Veneth was completely powerless. The girl went to extreme measures, intending to slash him with her storm. From here, it was clear that she was a speed demon. Then he would simply take away her sword. Despite numerous continuous attacks, he didn't budge a single step. Now it was his turn to attack. Veneth saw that he was faster, even though they were moving the same way. He didn't even feel her speed. Yet Fiona couldn't guess why he was fighting this way. The difference in strength was obvious. He could destroy her in a second. With his own style, with his own efforts. Maybe he's showing her his fight. Veneth wanted to know who had taught him such swordsmanship. Sakuya called it his merit, so he came to it through his own efforts. Concerned guards rushed to the lady to heal her. She was not going to allow this to happen. Veneth kept insisting that she was the heir of the Jiral school. and now, with the use of butterfly flight, she would kill him. Fiuna was worried about her intercessor. Sakuya declared that such was the power of labor and effort. He showed her the result of his labor and effort. It made the girl wonder if she could do that. The guards carried Venus away. She declared that he would not get off that easily. Fiuna asked her hero to stop. The girl wanted to at least hear his name. He called himself Ramacha and then fled. Fiuna was called by Sakuya, who heard some shouting. The girl isn't sure, but it certainly can't be a mistake. This is what she's looking for. The summit. Starting tomorrow, she'll double her training. They'll start right away. Second, Princess Lyrosis's room. Lady Finesse has been informed that the investigation is complete. Cartier returned to Finesse with good news. Could it be from the amount of sugar added to her tea that the princess has a sweet tooth? Finesse decided to cut to the chase, namely the news that she hoped concerned Sakuya-san. Cartier reported that they had found several single men with that name. She laughed, embarrassing the princess with that. The girl had never seen her so infatuated with a guy. Finesse noticed that she was actually interested in men too, but she had turned down 36 offers. They were the most powerful men in the world, and all because she wants to marry the man she loves with all her heart. It's her childhood dream. Having spoken out in a burst of emotion, the princess felt ashamed. Cartier did not hide that she was also interested in the man who was able to captivate Lady Finesse to such an extent. Feeling her jealous gaze on her, the girl admitted to the joke. The princess reminded them that they had deviated from the main topic. Cartier turned to the list with all the finds. The first is a merchant of 36, well-to-do, with a beard. Only if she liked merchants. The second is 33 years old, a knight, a spearman. He has a burn mark on his left cheek. Lady Finesse has pinned her last hopes on the third. He is a 22-year-old magician. He is, by the way, handsome and has black hair. The Sakuya that Finesse knew was also black-haired, so she asked that he be invited to the royal palace immediately. Cartier knew she would say so he had already been invited. He is waiting in the guest room. Cartier asked if she wanted to see him now, but the princess could not go out to see him in such clothes, so she ordered a hot bath to be prepared for her now. Palace baths. Cartier forgot to mention the 12-year-old boy named Sakuya in the 3rd Academy. Of course, it was unlikely, but still, it was the academy that Fiuna attends. But naturally, he can't be 12 years old. Finesse suggested to wash and get ready. She asked Cartier to make him fall in love with her at first sight. She would make her the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. It is love at first sight, a matter of her honor to win him. A couple days later, VIP dining room at the 1st Academy. Finesse sat alone, deep in thought. Cartier could see that the princess was still disappointed and did not want to bring it up. This person was not at all the person she wished to see. Cartier felt uncomfortable, for she thought it was him. The princess changed the subject, offering her to eat with her. Cartier asked if she should continue her search. Finesse seemed to think there was no point in trying to do anything anymore. Cartier was pleased to report that one of her people had made contact with Saint Melanie, and she gave them partial information about Sakuya. The girls were pleased with this arrangement. The princess came to her senses as she felt her face flush with color. Listening to Ms. Finesse, Cartier can't help but admire her wisdom. It was true, Master Sakuya was different from other men. Finesse didn't fully understand what she meant. Cartier hesitated to say it at once. It turned out that Sakuya was part of the squad that defeated the Demon King. As far as the princess remembered, the only survivors were the hero and the saint. Sakuya had been there, a great man. More than that, the Demon King lost, mostly only because of Sakuya's strength. As far as Finesse knew, the Demon King's defeat was Alavis' doing. She learned from Cartier's mouth that it was a lie invented by him. According to Melanie's account, Alavis was so terrified of the Demon King that he threw down his sword and fled. This was hard to believe. After all, he is a hero. But Sakuya is alive, and a saint would hardly just lie, so Cartier doesn't think it's fiction. Then Finesse couldn't imagine Sakuya killing the Demon King. And the fact was that he had subjugated Astarte, the Demon King's most powerful servant. The princess declared that this was impossible, for Sakuya would be more than just a hero. This is what Cartier was going for. He is more than a hero. Finesse couldn't believe it. Then, to get to the truth, Cartier offered to spy on Sakuya. She wants to get to know him better too, and that made the princess angry. Such wonderful people are very hard to meet, and if you're around a man like that for months on end, you're bound to fall in love with him. Finesse claimed she found him and fell in love with him first. Cartier did not care whether she fell in love or not, but she is still younger than Finesse. The princess, on the other hand, thought he belonged to her. Sakuya felt that someone was remembering him. But now, during another training session, one can't think about it. Fiuna reminded that their goal was to win. They will go soon, and he must prepare. Finesse and Cartier will also be at the festival. The festival starts tomorrow. A storm is coming. The day of the festival. It has finally begun. Fiona hoped that Sakuya had slept well and had a good breakfast. It seemed to him that she was enthusiastic. All because they will win this year. Besides, maybe Ramacha-san is watching her right now. And she was right. He is definitely watching. But Sakuya is also excited. He has to stick to his role. Fiona was serious. She's counting on him, so he shouldn't interfere with her during the battle. The girl, remembering finesse, turned her attention to the two students. She pointed him to them standing side by side, with black and red hair. Sakuya couldn't figure out who they were. He activated his enhanced vision. So, he recognized the black-haired girl and asked which one was Finesse. Fiona was surprised that he might not have known that. The one with red hair is Cartier, and the dark-haired one is Finesse. It turns out that this is the girl he met in Lindenhof when he returned from the demon world, and that was the princess. Not good if they cross paths. Would she recognize who he really was? Turning to Sakuya, who was immersed in thought, Fiona said that they had been studying swords together since childhood. The boy couldn't understand how it was that this was the same Finesse that Fiona had told him about. He was talking to the princess as if she was his friend. If she's a princess, then she often sees a lot of people. When Sakuya met her, he was an adult, and now he looks like this, so she hardly recognizes him. He just happened to meet her and talk to her for a while. The guy is sure she doesn't remember anything about it. Fiona called out to him. She suggested that he go back to the waiting area. Representatives from each school were asked to get ready. Cartier and Finesse noticed Fiona as well. She is more enthusiastic than ever. Cartier announced that her partner was the latest Sakuya. But if the princess is still chasing him, she can go after him. Finesse asked not to do that. If he's Fiona's partner, she's certainly curious. But he's a child, and the Sakuya she's looking for is an adult, a different person altogether. Then Cartier hints that the Demon King's curse might have made him smaller. Finesse refused to believe that such a thing was possible. But if it was true, she couldn't help but feel something for this boy. The match had begun. Cartier couldn't wait to see how Fiona had changed. She was fighting against the representative of the Second Academy, a beast tamer. The great success in this battle was won by the Third Academy. As expected of Fiona, she won alone. Cartier didn't see her partner do anything. In any case, it was nothing special. But Finesse saw a lot of potential in them. These two might be a better team than she thought. Hadn't Cartier noticed that in the match? The girl still didn't understand what the princess meant. Then Finesse reminded her that Fiona had a bad habit of stopping thinking straight when her emotions took over. On such occasions, she liked to make big, sprawling attacks from the top rack. Because of this, it was easier for her opponents to read her attacks, and she sometimes lost to lower-ranked opponents. However, in a match the other day, she lived up to her style. It was Fiona's original gimmick, a technique worthy of a sword princess. Now that they were working together, had she noticed any of her old habits? It means that Fiona has a lot of trust in the guy. Indeed, Cartier didn't notice her usual mistakes in her. But this does not give them any idea of the boy's strength. Sakuya, whom Finesse met, was somehow someone she could trust. Only when they are together can she reveal her true self. She feels the same way about this boy. Cartier assumed that she just liked people named Sakuya. But the princess meant something else. Just when she looks at him, she has a feeling similar to when she met Sakuya. She will never forget that feeling. Cartier understands her feelings, but he doesn't seem to have the same ability. And didn't Finesse say that Sakuya is an adult? They are completely different in appearance and age. The princess decided that it was because of the Demon Lord's curse that made him small. Cartier asked her not to take her joke seriously. Seeing her friend's desperation, Cartier promised to evaluate the boy with her own eyes when he came closer. The application of the saint's appraisal instantly cheered up the princess. It is the ability to instantly assess the strength of those one sees. With him, it doesn't matter if he hides his strength. Besides, if he really is the Demon King's assassin, it doesn't matter that he's gotten a bit younger. It's time to prepare for the next battle. Sakuya felt several stares from the podium. In order for Cartier to appreciate him, he would have to get closer. The guy tried to stay as far away from them as possible. Fiona hesitated for a moment. Paired with Sakuya, they had won without any problems so far, yet things were going too smoothly. It seems to her that it's not because her opponent is weak. Could it be that they are the ones who are too strong? No, she's thinking too much. Right now she needs to focus on her opponent. They were to fight the representatives of the First Academy. Two swordsmen with Gandharva shields entered the arena. After analyzing the situation, Sakuya figured out that the only threat to them was shield stun, so they want to buy time by wearing them down. But the shields also limit their movement and view. As far as he remembers, he has a skill that makes him unaffected by the stun. He must incapacitate one of them. Fiuna asks her partner to help her. She can handle 1-on-1, but 2-on-1 is difficult. Sakuya promised to help. The main thing is that she should not get distracted. If Fiuna agrees with him, the fight will be quick. The guy pounced on them without permission with a shout. Fiuna couldn't believe that this idiot decided to challenge a swordsman with a shield. After hitting his opponent with the shield, he staged a perfectly fake stun. After fooling his opponent, he conveniently clutched onto his main big weapon. Sakuya considered this little shake-up useless. It wouldn't do anything to him. The opponent continued to shake him as hard as he could. While they were engrossed in pestering Sakuya, Fiuna began to act. The girl disposed of the opponents with their seemingly winning shields. It was just as he had planned. Known for their resilience, Gandharva's shields lost in the blink of an eye. Everyone continued to regard Fiuna as the pride of the Third Academy. But the partner is no good. The guy is too stupid, he just ran at them. That was exactly what he wanted to hear. Thus, the Third Academy won the victory. Sakuya explained to her that he was trying to get the opponent's attention and ran forward. The girl marveled that he had the strength to hold onto his shield while he was stunned. The senpai's positive attitude also helps his image. It was the turn of another couple from the First Academy. One wielded a staff typical of Earth mages, while the other was a big guy with a huge club. It became clear that this was a simple but extremely powerful strategy. Without making a careful inspection, Sakuya once again recklessly pounced on them. He chose the big man swinging the club as his first target. Then the magician turned to the powers of the earth and lifted it right under the boy's feet. Sakuya, after running a few meters, fell to the ground. His behavior annoyed the big man. Just as he expected, the senpai went to him. Sakuya's kick had become unsuccessful. Confused, the opponents forgot about the girl, who took advantage of the lowered vigilance. The magician felt that this guy had weakened his magic. The Third Academy had won again. How far they had come. They could win the championship this year. Fiuna destroyed the big guy with a single punch. Sakuya couldn't get enough of this role. The audience thought he was a useless, terrible partner. The way they poured dirt on him gave him pleasure. It meant he was doing the right thing. In any case, the plan worked better than he expected. Since there was an earth mage there, he was probably going to use earth raising to block their movement, and then the big guy would kill them with one blow. But that doesn't mean you can't approach them before they start using their magic and neutralize it. There's a great risk that his power will be revealed, so he should try to refrain from such a technique. Originally, the ground lifting was to be activated right in front of the big guy. Therefore, Sakuya sped up for a moment before activating the magic so that they would both be in range of the magic. He didn't expect this wizard to try to fix things at the very end. But still, they made it through. Fiuna suspected something wrong. In those two fights, he rushed at the enemy but ended up staying fine, giving her a chance to attack. Thanks to that, she is still full of strength and ready to win. Looking back, from the very first day he entered the school, Mr. Gokido had his eye on him. And that's not even an exaggeration. But was it possible that everything he had done so far was calculated? For one wrong move and he would be very badly hurt. How long would he last with so many people watching him? Is there a person in the world capable of doing such a thing? She doesn't have much information to draw conclusions. But, by the way, if, hypothetically, he continued to do this, it would be beneficial to both of them. Then she decided not to stop there. Sakuya realized that it was okay because she was the best and most supportive partner. Just now, Cartier was able to appreciate him. The princess came in excitement, unable to wait to tell her everything. Cartier's evaluation is unconventional. The princess demanded an explanation. She did not understand the conclusion of Cartier's evaluation. The girl explained that her assessment of a saint is the ability to assess someone's power in one word. That is, it all depends on interpretation. A goblin would be a weakling, Zenith would be an equal, Marissa would be the strongest, and the strongest rank, Destroyer, was given to Evakian, a water dragon living off the coast of Lyrasis. Therefore, her interpretation of the unconventional. This is the weakest rating ever. This boy is no better than a goblin lord. Finesse dared to suggest that, depending on the interpretation, substandard could also mean that he was stronger than they could imagine. This person is beyond their level of ability. That's why he supported Fiuna and achieved victory in the past matches by hiding his strength and staying in the shadows. Cartier thought it was impossible. No human could do that. Then Finesse mentioned that he was the victor of the Demon King. His achievements are a fact. If he is able to do that, there's nothing strange about him surpassing Marissa and the Water Dragon. Besides, if the unconventional is stronger than destruction, then the rumor that Sakuya was followed by a start becomes even more convincing. In other words, that boy is Sakuya's master. The princess was ready to rush to him and confess right now. She couldn't wait until the game was over, for he might disappear again. Cartier tried to calm her down. If this boy is the real Sakuya, then a girl interrupting the match to confess her feelings would definitely become despised by him. Finesse couldn't disagree with that. On the contrary, he would think she was strange. The princess admitted that she couldn't contain her excitement. Besides, if they reached the finale, he would see how good she was. That would be much more romantic. Now Finesse suggested that they see what Sakuya could do in the next match. The girls wondered who their next opponent would be. The opponent was a couple in love, a swordsman and a wizard, plus they are a couple. Sakuya is sure that the level of coordination will be much higher. Fayuna remembered that these two had caused a lot of trouble last year. The girl is a master swordsman of Jirala, and the guy is a skilled magician. And what's more important is their strange coordination. But are they really so strong that she fears them? This time, Fayuna asked him not to act alone. A nimble-looking wizard and an excellent sword wielder can kill in a single blow. The basic tactics are probably almost the same as the previous enemies, but their high level of coordination and ability to react flexibly to any situation should give them a lot of trouble. True, this time it's better to start from a wait-and-see position. Most likely, this is not an opponent who can be forced to play by their own rules. But the more unpleasant the opponent, the more useful Sakuya's role is. At first, the opponents wanted to separate them. Sakuya realized that they would easily deal with them that way. Moreover, that guy really wants to apprehend his senpai, to tear him away from his senpai and then attack him, which is to be expected from them. Sakuya is steady and still standing, but the effects of sleep are hard to resist. Having dealt with him, the partner was going to support Mia, but his magic didn't work. Sakuya secretly put silence on him. He would leave the rest to Fayuna. As the girls' swords crossed, Mia asked if he happened to be the rival's boyfriend. Fayuna stated that she and Sakuya were not that close. Mia was sure that she was hiding the truth. She can see how much Fayuna cares for him. Her infatuation is noticeable at a glance. If she likes him, Fayuna offered to tell him so. Mia, angering her rival, replied that girls should be honest. She showed her strength. In response, Mia used a tremendous amount of strength, the Ural Stream, a sword art that only allows you to use powerful attacks. However, Sakuya would no longer have time. He pondered that the shrinking ground and smoke screen would be fine in this situation. First, he would bounce lightly off the wooden sword, and then use the splinter and return to his place. Thus, in an instant, Mia lost her sword. Both girls were surprised, for she hadn't even hit Fayuna's sword. Sakuya signaled her. In the end, the loving couple lost. The cheering crowd couldn't believe that she had dodged a strong sword strike to the head. And what a move it was. The wooden sword shattered to pieces. The finale would not be easy. Sakuya, heading towards his partner, felt he was playing the shadow role perfectly. A bit aggressive, but the result is good. The guy apologized to her for falling asleep. Fayuna noticed that he was holding up well, so they partnered up. Sakuya thought she would reprimand him, but she reacted calmly. The girl was uneasy about the fight they had just had. Mia's mighty sword was definitely close to hers. It was so close that it almost cut her sword. But right after that, she saw a shadow move. Something else bounced off of it and shattered it. It was an anomaly. It could only happen in one way. For example, someone could fly between her and Mia at an incredible speed, so no one could see. And then, after bouncing off her sword and shattering it to pieces, it could safely return to its original position. The speed that no one can see. Maybe it was that shadow. Could it be that Sakuya was more skillful than her from the beginning and supported her from the shadow? Fayuna doesn't know why. But, if that's the case, if he continues to help her and work quietly, she will repay him with consequences for his actions. When they win, she would like to hear his reasoning. She thought of Mr. Ramach. Finesse was stirred by what Mia had said during the match. She was too optimistic. They partnered as boyfriend and girlfriend. She thought that Fayuna had chosen Sakuya as a partner because of his abilities. She missed the possibility that Fayuna had a romantic interest in Sakuya. And if Sakuya became her partner, doesn't that mean that Sakuya also has feelings for Fayuna? The princess didn't think of that possibility, because Sakuya is younger than her. Even if they look older than their years, they are a guy and a girl. They're a couple, so there's no reason for them to have a bad relationship. In fact, if she trusts him so much, then maybe it's really like that. Cartier wanted Finesse to calm down. The princess concluded that it was a matter of rivalry, as well as a matter of love. Cartier hoped she didn't believe this pathetic provocation. Finesse saw no lack of rivals. She would beat Fayuna both in battle and in love. Sakuya saw that there was clearly something wrong with Fayuna. In many ways, a battle that cannot be lost is beginning. The long-awaited matchup has arrived. The confrontation of the academies. Finesse wasn't going to lose to Fayuna's sword or her love. She would do everything she could to defeat her and tell Sakuya how she felt. Finally, Fayuna has come this far. She will live up to Finesse's expectations and say goodbye to her past. Sakuya must buy her time against Cartier. She will fight with finesse. Cartier asked, would Finesse really fight this boy? The princess had a different goal. She would fight Fayuna. She probably wouldn't have a sword raised against him. Fayuna's heart had once been broken, but in the third academy, she sharpened her sword again. Thanks to that, she found a better partner and is standing here now. To revive and surpass herself, she uses all her skills. Finesse has wanted to fight her for so long, and now that day has come. So she wants to answer her. She accepts her challenge. Cartier draws Sakuya's attention to herself. His opponent is her. Sakuya realized that this was an important match that his senpai was looking forward to. She doesn't need his help. He still has a lot of things to say to her. The girl started the fight. Finesse has observed her opponent's good technique, but she needs more than that. Fayuna, on the other hand, saw that Finesse is more agile than ever, but she is also different. Fayuna knew she would win this battle. Now it was Finesse's turn. She used the dancing butterfly kick. Fayuna had been waiting for this moment. By some miracle, she managed to repel this powerful attack, and Finesse appreciated her abilities. The same could be said of Fayuna's sword. The girls realized that they had to continue, because this was clearly not enough. The princess remembered their friendly rivalry. All they had done all these days was fight, and she had changed so much. The experience she had gained in the third academy had not gone to waste. Each girl hoped for her victory. The students of the third academy were supporting Fayuna so that she would rise. The girl realized that she could not afford to lose. She must win. Sakuya still kept her promise, and she can't believe she fell first. Fayuna hated herself for this. Time was running out, and she had lost. Sakuya thought that although their skills were roughly equal, without a leading player, he wouldn't be able to do anything. So much for help from the shadows. Gotta give up before the princess realizes who he really is. Sakuya went down on his knee. Despite the audience's support, he wasn't interested in winning. There was no point for him to fight alone. The boys shouted with all their might that this was not the end. They recalled their joint victory over the bandits, but Sakuya alone knew that he had defeated them alone. Cartier was pleased with his decision. It feels so good to be supported by literally everyone. But he can't stand up. The boy looked at the senpai. The defeated girl felt guilty in front of him. Even though she had made a promise to him, she had fallen first. Sakuya asked her to stop crying. He thought she would never cry again. The boy realized the need to act, deciding everything here and now. Cartier could not believe that he had changed his mind. Sakuya decided to go to extreme measures, remembering a start. He cast an incantation in an unknown language. Dark forces thickened in the arena. The guy activated the devil formula. Now, even if he won this fight for Fayuna's sake, no one would remember him. This was an indication that the battle was not yet over. Fayuna apologized to him again. He had bad news for Cartier. He is no longer playing. The mysteriousness of this boy inspired fear. What's so scary about him if he's lower than even an ordinary goblin? But his mood is no longer the same, and more importantly, he has a frightening woman behind him. Cartier speculated what that look could mean, but a closer look reveals nothing of the sort. The girl agreed that it was panic magic. By this act, she was completely confused. You might not be able to tell from her, but she's the second heir to the Jurel swordsmanship school. He can't compare to her. It's an assessment of his skills. She knows how to determine the approximate strength of a target just by looking at it. The guy smiled slyly. He strained Cartier with the sudden disappearance method. Having caught up with her from the other front, Sakuya declared that it meant the end. The girls were shocked by his skill. A second ago, he was standing there and hadn't taken a step. He took Cartier's assessment as a compliment. The girl couldn't imagine how he could be capable of something like that. Is an unconventional evaluation a compliment? It was hard to believe that he was stronger than Avakian, the water dragon of destiny, the most powerful dragon in the world. The attack might have landed on Cartier's head, but Sakuya picked her up, embarrassing her to the point of horror. In any case, she was unarmed, so he suggested finishing. So, Cartier had lost. Fayuna knew it was him. Turning to Finesse, Sakuya stated that he did not want to fight her. He and her hadn't seen each other in a long time. He apologized for not recognizing her as that princess from the Alavis wedding. A lot of things happened to him. He had gotten younger. Guy offered to talk when he had a chance. In a burst of emotion, Finesse pounced on him. Right in the midst of the battle, the girl confessed that she had always adored him. She wanted to settle things without talking. The princess clutched his hands to her chest and asked him to never let her go again. The princess began to act like a princess. A strange voice was heard that did not belong to Sakuya. Sensing something wrong, he advised the girl to stay away from him. Finesse, who had no intention of letting him go, was pushed away by a shockwave. For reasons unknown to Sakuya, Astarte herself rebelled, clearly not happy with what was happening. An unbearable sound swept through the arena. Sakuya realized that he had to stop her, but even in the language of demons, she did not respond. The princess felt as if someone besides Sakuya was telling her to stay away. Guy saw that not only Finesse but everyone else couldn't stand it when it came to this. Turning to the referee, he asked for a countout to end the match. The winner was the third academy. After that, Sakuya withdrew Astarte. Looking at Finesse, the guy remembered her confession. In all seriousness, it must be sincere. She had confessed her feelings in good faith. But then he wondered, could it be possible that the princess would ever be interested in him? He couldn't rule out Astarte manipulating her with magic. Soon Astarte's devil formula would begin to alter her memories. The winner of this year's Unified Schools Festival was the third academy. As a result, thanks to Astarte's devil formula, the memory of him at the Unified Schools Festival seems to have all but disappeared. In the end, Fiona took Finesse and Cartier with her, and he, who wasn't taken seriously, was left alone. He, who was taken for granted by everyone, stood his ground to the end, eventually winning. This result is not bad, but he will be more careful next time. Finesse would like to discuss something with Fiona. It's about Veneta. She heard that she was suspended, and also expelled from the Jiro fencing school. The news came as a great shock to Fiona since she was the heiress. That's why she was expelled. And this was not her first offense. So in other words, there's an open seat in the line of succession, and they're going to pick someone to fill it. Finesse wants Fiona to take her place. She was quite serious. Fiona couldn't believe she needed her. Also, Finesse wants her to become her specialist royal guard along with Cartier. From Fiona's reaction, it seemed to the princess that she was against it. Fiona was shocked by such a proposal. A royal guard specialist is one of the best opportunities for a swordsman. Therefore, she gladly agreed. Then Cartier would handle her transfer to the first academy. After thinking about it for a while, Fiona asked her to wait a bit longer with this. She should thank someone from the third, the one who helped her to move on with her life. The girls understood each other. Cartier thought it was a good time to ask if Sakuya was her boyfriend. The girl was embarrassed by the abrupt assumption. The girls realized that they were each other's rivals. Sakuya assumes this solves everything. A lot has happened, but this is a good opportunity for her. So, he doesn't know what he should do now. He has exams next spring, so he has to try his best. But it would be great to be an adventurer. The guys from the academy called out to him. He realized that they were watching his match. On the other hand, what else would they be doing? In any case, he still had Fiona. She told him to at least say hello to Finesse. The guy had already decided on an answer. He has yet to play his part in this academy.